Hello, this is Perry Mink. It is September 23rd, 2020 at about 4:30 in the afternoon. This is For the People video, and I'm giving the update and the current developments for today, and it is Wednesday. Alright, so for those of you who are new, this is a forum where I explain what the government terrorist organization here has been, how they've been attacking me and alienating me, annihilating me, terrorizing me, and I'm giving updates to, for people who want to know what is the status of the case Mink versus Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated et al. And how is the situation here. So I still don't have gas to turn, to have hot water, or for the stovetop burners. I did activate my new iPhone through this new phone carrier. However, when I'm out of this setting here, the phone does not connect as it would if you were activated. And so it says that the phone is not activated. And this is the type of sabotaging that they continue to direct at me and perpetrate against me and to carry out against me, because they don't want to acknowledge me as an individual, as a human being that is a part of this community, and that I've been living here since 1995 when I bought my first home, a condominium in Pleasant Hill, California, and that they got caught. They are using the legal system, the courthouse, as a place of vengeance. It's a trap. And so you as a litigant don't have a clue, and you're walking right into their, their web of lies, their cheating, their premeditated acts of vengeance and manipulation and greed. Alright, so I had to take a break yesterday. Both Winnie and I were deteriorated some, and Winnie, indicates that by his behavior. And so the rest helped me to do a little bit more research. And the homework assignment that I posted on August 28th, 2020, that once you are able to identify this Cruel Catholic M.O, you will be able to name people, prominent white men, who have been terrorized, tortured, and destroyed. And that does apply to black men. Now, when we look at people in your own community, you may find prominent people in your community, but if it's somebody like myself, just a working class, middle class American in management, working in management in the private sector, you're not going to find our stories until we speak out. And so a lot of them haven't spoken out because they've been so suppressed, they've been murdered, or they left. Alright, so the second case that we've been working in is the Morrissey, Kevin Morrissey, his wife, Dr. Kawai, and another case that just came out of, surprise to me when I was getting ready to talk about the second case last Monday, and that is Dr. Mark Edward Stinson, who was found deceased in his Oakland home, and the coroner's office at that time claimed that his body had decomposed to the point where they weren't able to give a report to the public of the cause of death. Well, that was just another Cruel Catholic M.O. It was very evident, because if you were the coroner, you would at least be able to say approximately how long he was dead for. Okay, they know that. Scientifically, they know your body decomposes, and they can tell you how long approximately the body has been dead for, taking into consideration any temperature effects that are at the home. And so he was found on, he was found dead on March 3rd, 2007. So the weather was probably cooler than it is during, August and September and so forth. So based on that information, they would be able to tell you, they would be able to rule out information like, well, he wasn't shot, okay? He was, we didn't find blood all over the place. Right, they would have been able to tell us something about what happened to this man. Well, I did more research last night, and I did some more today. And this is a prominent doctor in this community in Contra Costa County. And he's a white man. He's dead right in the prime of his life. So I looked up about what he's been doing, and one of the articles, news articles, that was a news release about Kevin Morrissey and the death of his family, was they talked about in the article that he was, that his associate, Dr. Mark, Kevin Morrissey's associate, Dr. Mark Edward Stinson, and by the way, they went to the same university in Texas, one graduating a year earlier than the other one. And it said in the article that Dr. Mark Edward Stinson was the executive, let's see if I wrote it down, he was the executive officer, I believe, of this, they called it Medical International. Well, that was incorrect. They also said in that article that it was listed, it was not listed with the California Secretary of State as either a corporation or charity. Well, the name was incorrect. It was actually International Medical Corps. So I looked up that site, and I couldn't find any information about Dr. Stinson being involved with him or with that organization. It is an organization, and that particular Medical International Corporation does say now, I mean, we're talking quite a few years later, that it is, registered, I guess if you will, as a nonprofit with the state of California. All right, so I did some more research that also led me to, that was the article that clarified the organizations that Dr. Stinson was involved in. And the other organization was called Relief International. And so you could see how they kind of combined the two organizations, and then the name became one. So he was involved with Relief International, and he was also involved with International Medical Corps. So where did they get that information? That's the type of media, it could be considered a blooper, or it could be considered intentional. So I looked on Relief International, and there was no acknowledgement about Dr. Stinson, because he was quite prominent in leading this type of medical relief assistance all over the world, and he was so how shall I say, recognized that FEMA had asked him to assist in some other relief effort, and I believe another organization, or like starting another organization. That I didn't want to concentrate on that aspect today, because what this led me to find is, because in my Monday for the People video, I very clearly sensed that the death of Dr. Mark Stinson is related to Contra Costa County, something related to work. And so the way that the community leaders have been operating is very corrupt, and it comes from the legal system, and it comes from the Board of Supervisors, and it comes from the politicians here. So what I discovered was, and when I found this, I thought, okay, this now is adding up. This is something that they know that they're doing it. They know that they're premeditating. They know that they're carrying out with like this movie, like a play movie, and then they want to watch it play out. Like, what will happen here? I believe that if we set this up, we will get the result that we want. All right. So from this article, and I've been keeping from naming these articles, because they have been taking the links down, okay? But it's a local newspaper, and that's how I found out about these two organizations that Dr. Stinson was involved in, the Relief International and the International Medical Corps. And at that time, the executive director of the county hospital here, his name is Frank Puglisi. And from this article about this relief effort that the doctors at the county hospital were involved in, because they were Frank Puglisi was accommodating them to be able to leave their position at the county hospital and then go to these, like tragic events, and then be able to utilize their expertise at those locations, all over the world. And so that led me to another article that was about this case where one of the largest lawsuit settlements, which was $1.4 million, was awarded to a 6-year-old, and because the father, who happened to be at the county hospital, was murdered by this man who was in the criminal system. And so they blamed Frank Puglisi, and the director of security, David Dornas. But as you start to read about what was happening in the community at that time, you can see that this was a setup. That people within the legal system, perhaps some judges, perhaps Sheriff Warren Roop, I don't know exactly when Warren Roop was the sheriff here, the starting date, but this happened in 1996. It could have been Bill O'Malley, the top DA, and set this up because at that same time they wanted to make what was called the Marithew County Hospital. They wanted to just make that obsolete and then make a whole new hospital. And so that's what they wanted, okay? So to make the hospital Marithew look so bad, this case with this, dangerous young man, that was through the criminal system, was at the psychiatric ward at Marithew County Hospital, and then he attacked this man that was there, and he died as a result. Now, in the news article from in 1999, when the case was settled, the assistant county counsel, which is what they called him, referred to him as assistant county counsel. So I'm not sure what department he's from. His name is Greg Harvey, so maybe people out there who are familiar with this case know who he is. I've never heard of him. This is a quote that he said. So just jumping into the sentence, he says, "County exceeded standards for security at Marithew at time of slaying," which means that they were following all the guidelines. They were within the laws, the rules, the protocol. They were doing all the right things. But and I have to do a little bit more research. But the article claimed that that it was the fault of these two men. Okay, they're blaming these two men, Frank Puglisi and David Dornas. Okay, so if they were following all the guidelines, how could those two be at fault? Okay, then I looked at this article more, and it said that there was no liability on the part of this man who killed this other guy at the psychiatric ward. It said that there was no part of offender psychiatrist or security guard that was on duty at that time. So there was no fault, no fault of the psychiatrist for this criminal. Already, he was already in the criminal system, and the psychiatrist walked free, like, oh, I don't know what was wrong with this guy. Okay, they knew exactly what was wrong with the guy. I don't know who the psychiatrist was. It doesn't list the psychiatrist. Okay, well, what would Frank Puglisi and David Dornas be so personally responsible for it? Because the article said something about them having to pay out of their own pocket. Okay, so that's where you could see in the news article that it was a setup. And the news journalists, are they just not queuing into it? Did they not ask questions, or did they ask questions and then they didn't put it in their news report? I mean, what is going on? Why are the news media journalists not telling the truth about what is going on about these cases? So this case with this this man that was already in the criminal system that killed this other man, and then there's this really huge settlement supposedly for the son who was 6 years old. You have to say to yourself, how much is that son really getting? Because that amount really is, most of it goes to the attorney. So that's the other aspect of it. I don't have, I didn't do that part of the research on that, but that's really what goes on. They only allow certain attorneys to take a case, and then that attorney is like either a friend or a family member of one of the judges, or a cousin, or a friend of the doctor, or something like this. And then he gets all the money, and really the son hardly gets anything at all, or the victim doesn't get anything at all. I don't have information for that, though. I have no idea. All right, so that's what I wanted to talk about today. That was what I found, but still, again, I did a lot more research trying to find any report, any police news release about the death of Dr. Mark Edward Stinson. Now, what I did find out is the mother she passed away in 2012, and you could see that information there. Now, there was another article that said that Mark Stinson's father had already passed away, and that he was buried, near the father in Santa Barbara, California. But I can't find anything on him. Okay. Now, I've done a little bit of genealogy. Just, I'm just a novice, and throughout the centuries, it is the male that has been recorded, that the male has more recognition, and the females, a lot of times you can't find the wife's name even, or some of the history on the wife. And this made me think about these women in the legal system, in the politics, that they claim that they're for women's rights, and I found out that they're being taught to eliminate men, like kill them off. And then, is this also happening when they die, that they only acknowledge the woman? This was what I found with the case with the Johnson and his wife, who have the crosses on the hill in Lafayette that I put in my part article, and how the husband, all of a sudden, Johnson, you can't find anything on him, but the wife is recognized in the news. And this is not equality. This is top women who are eliminating men, who are killing off white men, and then the men are just like disappearing. Okay? But what disturbed me was that if those women are for women's rights, why would they destroy me? Okay? What was it that they were trying to accomplish by destroying me if they are claiming they're for women's rights? Okay, so we talked about that, I talked about that before, that this was organized crime, that Encina Veterinary, when I was going there, it was called Encina Veterinary Hospital, and their name, that was their DBA, doing business as. Their name on file was Encina Veterinary Clinic Incorporated, and then it all included everybody involved. And they were in cahoots with Judge Joel Golub, out of the Walnut Creek Superior Court, the Walnut Creek Police, the California Veterinary Medical Board with Susan, and I can't pronounce her name, but Gurninen, or I'm not sure how to pronounce it, and presiding judge Marianne O'Malley, because the O'Malley son, Dan, was representing Encina, okay? And I've said that, I posted that long time ago. And so it's organized crime. It's organized crime. It's a mafiosos. It's a mafia. And our federal government is supposed to stop it completely. And it's supposed to be in the news. We're supposed to be able to read about this and be able to protect ourselves, and that the federal government has contained it, and that they are in custody, they are in prisons. I mean, this is absurd. This is horrific. They're using the government to kill us off. Once we are receiving some type of government assistance or some program, that's when it triggers for them to launch their annihilation process, their slow, methodical death sentence. And there's a hit list, and they're targeting certain people. And who are they targeting? Who's very high on the hit list? The Protestants, the people who are practicing from the Bible, the King James Bible, the New King James Bible, people who are Protestants from the Lutheran, okay, and even though this 1999 Catholic Lutheran agreement happened, and that changed the doctrine, it is illegal for them to then attack us in the community. The Catholics have overthrown our legal system, and they are using their beliefs and practices and the order from the Catholic Church Vatican and under Vatican II to kill us off and to completely take over the United States. I proved it with evidence here, and I am to have justice right this minute. All right, and you could see how Winnie is for that too. All right, so thank you for watching. Please learn, prepare, be brave, inform others, outsmart them, and regain our rights. And what does that mean? That we each have individual rights, that we receive bespoke services. All right, thank you for watching. It is about 4:58 in the afternoon on Wednesday, September 23rd, 2020. All right, thank you again. Signing off.